well as I know we have a few visitors here as well. Welcome to you.
Good to have everyone here, and if you are a visitor and you were too shy to raise your hand, then you need to know that that's exactly the way I am when I go visit a church. Very introverted, but I have found that if I stay for coffee hour, people come up and talk to me, and we'll hope that that will happen afterwards. I'm not sure we'll have any coffee today, though. Oh, there was a problem with the water supply. Is it working now? Okay, great. It's working. Okay. I was going to say we'll have pastry hour. Wow. We'll have coffee. All right.
Unitarians rejoice.
Our communion.
All right, as Roger mentioned, so after service, we'll be sharing coffee and conversation in Davis Hall, which is right across the way. And for those on Zoom, Martin will be setting up a breakout room, so feel free to join a breakout and continue the conversation. In our work and ministry here at Granite Peak, we utilize the principles of our mission statement, which reads as follows. We are a compassionate spiritual community that celebrates diversity, nurtures the personal and spiritual growth of all ages, shares our gifts, promotes justice for all, and serves the world we live in. Abundant thanks goes out to Lena for playing the piano today. Thank you, Lena. Martin on AV, all of our hospitality volunteers, and everyone who chips in to make sure our service is both enjoyable and uplifting for everyone. Now would be a fabulous time to check that your phone is on worship mode. There are numerous ways to learn about the activities and events of our congregation. Info is available on our website at prescottuu.org. All of the weekly news that fits into print is in the weekly Peak newsletter, and more can be found in our monthly newsletter, The View, copies of which are on the welcome table just outside the sanctuary. You can also pick up today's announcements there as well. We have a nursery in this building for children under the ages of 5, and children over the ages of 5 are being taught by our Children's Faith Developer Coordinator, Sandra Pelosios. The Children's Faith Development Program strives to inspire and nurture our children's spiritual and personal growth while teaching and modeling our shared Unitarian Universalist values. At this time, Lena would like to make an announcement, so I'm going to hand over the stage and mic to her for a quick announcement.
This is the visual. You can guess. This is about the holiday giving project that we do every year. It used to be called Link, started with Bronwyn some 20 years ago, has developed into a private sort of giving year-long-ish. But Christmas is the time when I implore you to be a volunteer. And all it takes is making a bag like this, basically, which includes shopping for a specific family. These are mostly Latino families in need. And I tell you, this year, I have a source out at my old high school. Through the whole school, there are many, many, many more families in dire need. People having to leave the country suddenly and leaving with a 1 adult, 4 children family, blah, blah, blah. I'll give you more details. I just would like a whole lot more volunteers just to tell me that they're willing to buy sometimes gifts for kids, although that's not even always, maybe in half the cases. It's just a gift card and wrapping it or making it look nice in a bag with some extra stuff that I can provide. So let me know if you would be willing to help out. I do need more families. We have many more to give to this year. And, you know, it's just a tough job to get it all together. But in the long run, when I deliver these things, the families are so incredibly grateful. It's amazing. I mean, I wouldn't do this if it weren't for a good cause. So, there you are. Let me know if you can help. Bye.
Thank you, Lena. There was a couple of other things I think that are timely on the in the announcements, and I'll mention the food pantry is looking for Friday volunteers. If you're interested, reach out to Udell Stuckey, Chris Parsons, or the office. And also the Granite Peak Care Team is looking for some volunteers who can help occasionally with home visits, meals, hospital visits, shopping trips. Please contact Bobby Bollinger for more information or to volunteer. So again, please see our weekly announcements for more information on what's going on. We are a busy congregation, and we'd like to see how we can offer opportunities for you to volunteer and provide a great service to our community. We begin our service in the Unitarian Universalist tradition of lighting the chalice. Our chalice lighter this morning is Warren Miller. And this is a reading from the Director of Religious Exploration from the First UU in New Orleans. We light our chalice as a symbol of gratitude as we celebrate the abundance of our lives together. In this sanctuary, we harvest bushels of strength for one another and offer our crop with the hands of compassion and generosity. In the authentic and gentle manner of our connections, we cultivate a simple sweetness to brighten our spirits. May we be grateful for the ways we nourish and uplift each other, for it is in the sharing of this hallowed time together that sustains us.
Before the Unitarians and Universalists merged in 1961, they were still doing cooperative things, and in 1937, the Unitarians and Universalists published a joint hymnal, which became known as the Red Hymnal. It was a much better hymnal than we have today because it had complete orders of service, so that the ministers didn't have to work as hard. And one of those orders of service was a Thanksgiving order of service, and this is the prayer that they included in that service, and I think it's very lovely. We bring together our joyful thanksgiving for all the increase that the fertile earth has yielded. Whether we toil or rest, whether we wake or sleep, we are upheld by a life that forever makes all things new. We remember in this our prayer all those who plow the fields and sow the seed, who cultivate the rows of growing herbs and gather in harvest. We would be mindful of the mutual dependence of all the members of the human family. We would learn how to take a useful part in the world's life. May we never be satisfied to enjoy plenty, so long as any are in want. May we express our gratitude for nature's gifts, not in words alone, but also in the high purposes for which we live and in the kindness of our deeds. Amen. Let's join in singing hymn number 349, We Gather Together.
We gather together in joyful thanksgiving, acclaiming creation whose bounty we share. Both sorrow and gladness we find now in our living. We sing a hymn of praise to life that we bear. together to join in the journey, confirming, committing our passage to be a true affirmation of joy and tribulation when bound to human care and hope, then we are free.
Let's join in our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, the quest for truth its sacrament, and service is its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve others in community. Thus do we covenant together.
As we prepare to take the offering this morning, let us embrace and appreciate the feeling of connection and community that we have when we gather here each week. Remember that this congregation and its vast array of programs and services are supported by your generosity. We also give back to the greater community through our Seeds of Support program. And this month's Seeds of Support recipient is the Prescott MLK Peace and Justice March and Celebration. Please read about them in your order of service. To contribute online, please visit our website. Enjoy the offertory music entitled Gratitude by Kim Robertson and played by Lena. We acknowledge and appreciate the generosity of spirit expressed through this offering. What you have given in love is received with gratitude. Blessed be. Our beloved community is the heart of Granite Peak Unitarian Universalist Congregation. As we experience a time of meditation and music, we will take a few moments to silently acknowledge the joys and concerns of our hearts and of our minds. If there is an event which moves you to a joy or concern, hope or gratitude, I invite you to come forward silently and drop a pebble from the dish into the communal water as an affirmation of our connection to one another. May all our joys and concerns, surrounded by the healing communal water of our beloved community, be acknowledged here today. So may it be. Please join in singing Spirit of Life.
Reverend Max Kutz was minister of the Unitarian Universalist Church in Canton, New York for many years, and he was also a very avid gardener. And he wrote a meditation for Thanksgiving about comparing people to vegetables. Max wrote, "Let us give thanks for the bounty of people. Let us give thanks for children who are our second planting, and though they grow like weeds and the wind too soon blows them away, may they forever give us cultivation and fondly remember where their roots are. Let us give thanks for generous friends with hearts as big as large winter squash and smiles as bright as their blossoms. For festive friends as tart as apples. For continuous friends who, like scallions and cucumbers, keep reminding us that we have had them. For crotchety friends, as sour as rhubarb and as indestructible. For handsome friends who are as gorgeous as eggplants and as elegant as a row of corn, and the others as plain as potatoes, and so good for you. For funny friends who are as silly as Brussels sprouts and as amusing as Jerusalem artichokes, and serious friends as complex as cauliflowers and as intricate as onions. For friends as unpretentious as cabbages, as subtle as summer squash, as persistent as parsley, as delightful as dill, as endless as zucchini, and who, like parsnips, can be counted on to see you through the long winter. For old friends, nodding like sunflowers in the evening, and young friends coming on as fast as radishes. Let us give thanks for loving friends who wind around us and hold us despite our blights, our wilts, and our witherings. And finally, for those friends now gone, like gardens past, that have been harvested, but who fed us in their times, that we might have life thereafter. For all these, we give thanks. Thank you. Well, our first national Thanksgiving, some of you may recall, was in 1789. The purpose of that day was to give thanks for the new Constitution and the beginning of the United States of America. President George Washington declared Thursday, November 26, 1789, as a day of public thanksgiving and prayer. In the proclamation, euphemisms were used for the word God. The euphemisms appear several times. The words Christ, the word Christian, those words do not appear. President Washington wanted this first Thanksgiving to be inclusive of Christianity, Judaism, Unitarians, Universalists, and other religions. It is one of many documents from that time that prove that the United States was not founded as a Christian nation. In 1789, it was already widely known that the founders were not friends of the conservative Christian establishment. It was rumored that the founders were non-believers and agnostics in their personal religion. It was even whispered that their private conduct left much to be desired. Where did they worship? What did they worship? Did they have a religion? Well, a group of imperfect white men came together in Philadelphia in 1787 to write the Constitution. Most of them regarded their religious beliefs as private. Still, we have a little information. Consider our first president. George Washington was more interested in the practical aspects of life than the spiritual. Washington liked to gamble. He played cards, he bet on horse races, cockfights, and he liked to dance. And one year, when he was in his 30s, it's recorded in his diary that he went hunting for foxes 49 times, but only went to church 15 times. When he became commander-in-chief of the Continental Army, Washington found it necessary to deal with religious prejudice. When anti-Catholic bigotry arose, he issued an army order calling for the commemoration of St. Patrick's Day. When other chaplains in the Army went to Washington and asked that he dismiss the Universalist chaplain, Reverend John Murray, because Reverend Murray, being Universalist, was not a true Christian, Washington instead gave Murray a promotion. The Sunday before the start of the 1787 Constitutional Convention, Washington, newly arrived in Philadelphia for the meetings, chose to attend services at a small Catholic church in the city. It was a deliberate effort on his part to make a visible statement about the need for religious tolerance. We know that Washington believed in God. Still, about his views on Jesus, we have little information. The father of our country had a strong sense of privacy on this issue. We do know that he refused to take communion once the American Revolution started, and that he was not a formal member of any church, although 7 denominations claim him. Washington went to considerable effort to assure all religious groups that he had nothing but the highest respect for their beliefs. As a public official, he felt that he could best serve religion by ensuring that no single denomination be given government authority over the others. He wrote, "We have abundant reason to rejoice that in this land the light of truth and reason has triumphed over the power of bigotry and superstition, and that every person may here worship God according to the dictates of his own heart. In this enlightened age and in this land of equal liberty, it is our boast that a man's religious tenets will not forfeit the protection of the laws, nor deprive him of the right to attain and hold the highest offices that are known in the United States. Now, Benjamin Franklin's early religious training was as a Presbyterian. However, he grew into adulthood. He started to turn to more physical and intellectual pleasures. On the topic of turning water into wine, he wrote, "Behold the rain, which descends from the heaven upon our vineyards, and which incorporates itself with the grapes to be changed into wine. A constant proof that God loves us and loves to see us happy." Franklin loved music and composed the lyrics for drinking songs. In 1745, Franklin wrote a letter entitled "Advice to a Friend on Choosing a Mistress," in which he listed 7 reasons why an older mistress is preferable to a young one, including better conversation and less risk of unwanted pregnancy. Franklin himself had at least one illegitimate child. Benjamin Franklin was not a member of any church, and no denomination claims him. Although he attended Quaker meetings and the Universalist services. One of his friends was the founder of the Unitarian Church in Philadelphia, Joseph Priestley. Another was the Universalist Dr. Benjamin Rush. Franklin attempted to calm passions during a tense constitutional debate in 1787. He proposed that as God governs in the affairs of men, the convention begin their sessions with a prayer. One delegate seconded the motion, but no one else was interested in praying, and the delegates dropped the idea. Some delegates thought it strange that this proposal should have come from a man often criticized as a hedonist and a freethinker. As for the symbol of our country, our new country, in a private letter to his daughter, Franklin said the eagle was a bird of bad moral character. Franklin called the turkey a much more respectable bird and a true original native of America. While this private letter promoted the turkey over the eagle, as far as I know, he never suggested that we eat turkey on Thanksgiving. A few weeks before he died, Franklin wrote, "I believe in one God, creator of the universe, that he governs it by his providence, that he ought to be worshiped, that the most acceptable service we render him is doing good to his other children. I have some doubt as to the divinity of Jesus, though it is a question I do not dogmatize upon. And I think it is needless to busy myself with it now, when I expect soon an opportunity of knowing the truth with much less trouble." Alexander Hamilton was 32 years old when he was elected as a delegate to the Constitutional Convention in 1787. Hamilton was brilliant but arrogant. At the convention itself, he arrived, he impulsively left, he returned for a day, he made one speech, and impulsively left again. As a result, his impact on the wording of the Constitution was minimal. Nevertheless, historians remember him as one of the 4 giants among the delegates. His aggressive and brilliant arguments about the need for a strong national government were a key force in the creation and the ratification of our Constitution. Hamilton was born in the West Indies, the child of an adulterous relationship. He got his first job in a store when he was 14. He came to New York from the West Indies when he was 17. Within 2 years, he began writing political tracts, and by the time he was 20, he was an aide to Washington in the Revolutionary War. When he was only 34, he became the first Secretary of the Treasury and the father of the American economic system. A man of intense passions, Hamilton rushed headlong into friendships, into battles, love affairs, causes, always filled with impatience. We know little about Hamilton's religious beliefs. We have no evidence that he ever attended church. He argued vigorously for the natural rights of human beings. About God, he wrote, "The Supreme Being gave existence to man, together with the means of preserving and beautifying that existence. He endowed him with rational faculties, by the help of which to discern and pursue such things as were consistent with his duty and interest, and invested him with a right to personal liberty and personal safety." But Hamilton died at the age of 47 in a duel with Aaron Burr. His life was a product of the Enlightenment, and his death an echo of the Dark Ages. James Madison was 37 years old when he arrived in Philadelphia in 1787. Madison is the father of our Constitution. He directed the chain of events that led to the Constitutional Convention, and he gave to the convention a philosophy that set the tone of the meetings. Madison was shy and modest, more at home in the company of books than of people. I identify with Madison. Once he was in his when he was in his 30s, he was staying at an inn in Williamsburg, Virginia, and someone reached through a window and stole his hat. Madison was so embarrassed at the idea of appearing in the streets of Williamsburg without a hat that he stayed inside the inn for 2 days until he could buy a hat from one of the other guests in the inn. He suffered from fear of rejection, and he declined to be governor of Virginia. He feared that if someone attacked him in the press, it would injure his feelings and his health. Still, in the privacy of his study, writing letters and essays, Madison found his courage. He did not like others to control him, and when he felt the threat of power over him, he fought back. As a result, he became a strong advocate of religious freedom. In 1776, at the age of 25, Madison proposed an amendment to the Virginia Constitution declaring that all people were entitled to the free exercise of religion. He led the fight against the special privileges of the Anglican clergy and against a tax to support the Anglican Church. Madison strongly supported Thomas Jefferson's Bill of Religious Freedom in Virginia. Thanks largely to Madison's leadership, the Virginia legislature passed the bill. He was a principal sponsor of the Bill of Rights embodied in the first 10 amendments of the Constitution. The first article guaranteed freedom of religion and prohibited the establishment of a national church. Madison referred only rarely to his personal religious beliefs. We know that he studied for the ministry at Princeton before going into politics. We know that he believed in God. However, we have little information about how he felt about Jesus or whether he attended religious services. Like George Washington, he regarded these as private matters. His public determination was to prevent any denomination from getting power that would enable it to dominate the others. He wrote,
ecclesiastical establishments have been seen to erect a spiritual tyranny on the ruins of civil authority. They have upheld the thrones of political tyranny. In no instances have they been the guardians of the liberties of the people. A just government instituted to secure and perpetuate the public liberty needs them not. And he added, religion is for the honor of America perfectly free and unshackled. The government has no jurisdiction over it. If Franklin was the philosopher, Washington was the overseer, and Hamilton the economist, Madison was the chief engineer of the Constitution. Of course, by the standards of today, all these white men had serious moral flaws when it came to the treatment of Native Americans, African Americans, and women. It took many years of struggle to end slavery and later to give women the right to vote. When it comes to the separation of church and state, sometimes we go backward. This is one of those times. The Supreme Court ruled in June of 2019 that a 40-foot cross may continue to stand on public land in Maryland, rejecting arguments that it represented an unconstitutional endorsement of religion. The vote was 7-2, with Justices Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Jewish, and Sonia Sotomayor, Roman Catholic, dissenting. Ginsburg emphasized her strong disagreement by reading part of her dissent from the bench. She said, decades ago, this court recognized that the Establishment Clause of the First Amendment to the Constitution demands government neutrality among religious faiths and between religion and non-religion. Numerous times since, the court has reaffirmed the Constitution's commitment to neutrality. Today, the court erodes that neutrality commitment, diminishing laws designed to preserve individual liberty and civic harmony. By honoring World War I service members with a cross-shaped memorial, the state of Maryland, she said, places Christianity above other faiths and sends the message to people of other faiths that they are outsiders. Separating church and state is an ongoing struggle. Back in 1985, when I was serving as a minister in Massachusetts, I received a large package in the mail from my representative in Congress, great big box. His name was Gary Studds. Representative Studds had been singled out by the moral majority as the worst congressperson in the United States. Why? Because he was the first openly gay person to serve in the United States Congress. Conservative Christians poured tens of thousands of dollars into the district to defeat him. I spoke out in a sermon and then later in a newspaper article disagreeing with the views of these conservative Christians. Inside the package from Congressman Studds was a letter of thanks and the gift of a book, a portfolio of writings from Thomas Paine, Madison, Washington, William Douglas, Hugo Black, Felix Frankfurter, and others. They were all on the topic of freedom of religion. One statement was from Sam Ervin, who you may remember from the 1973 Watergate hearings. So I want to close with Senator Erving's words. He said, if any provision of the Constitution can be said to be more precious than the others, It is the provision of the First Amendment which undertakes to separate church and state by keeping government hands out of religion and by denying to any and all religious denominations any advantage from getting control of public policy or the public purse. This is so because the history of nations makes this truth manifest. When religion controls government, political freedom dies. And when government controls religion, religious freedom perishes. Let's sing our closing hymn, number 67. We sing now together.
This one has 4 verses. We sing, we together. Oh, I have to throw 67. Let it go, which the ages have wrought, for life that enfolds us and helps and heals and holds us and leads beyond the goals which our forebears once sought. We sing of the freedoms which martyrs and heroes have won by their labor, their sorrow and pain. Though pressed, befriending, our ampler hopes defending, their death comes as a triumph, they died not in vain. We sing of the prophets, the teachers and dreamers, designers, creators and workers and seers, our own lives expanding, with gratitude commending, the deeds have made immortal their days and their years. We sing of community now in the making, in every far continent, region and land, with those of all races, all times and names and places. We pledge ourselves in covenant firmly to stand.
May we go forth from this place thankful for the life that sustains and renews us, and open to the grace that surrounds and surprises us. May we go forth from this place with joy and with thanksgiving. Let's extinguish the chalice and say these words in unison. We extinguish this flame not by the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.